This is part two. How the narcissistic personalities and the narcissistic personality of learned helplessness in particular has empowered me. And also the grandiose. Honestly, also the grandiose for sure. Okay? When I live with this man was in two reggae bands when I met him. He was a great musician, but this thing was like, perhaps just the need to come up with the rent for his wife and baby, man. It was just consuming. Honestly, the rent, as I've said many times, the rent can bring these beings in, man. If the person doesn't know if they, like in this case, if their ego is so large that they weren't aware of what's happening. Most people are not at all aware of what's happening in other dimensions around them, or even the second. So because I also do not drink alcohol, and one of the reasons was probably because I intuitively knew it attracted these things. So I didn't want to have just to deal with the drama and the so-called curse of Santa Cruz. I knew that I would be dealing with a lot of drama because it always is here or down there. That's why I'm a mile away from it, because I don't want to try to sleep around all that drama. So anyway, I started playing the melodica when I was about 30, and years around 30 solar returns, and I would go and learn a song about 5 days a week at Boulder Creek, classic rock or jazz or reggae. Took me 10 years to be able to make dinner money doing that, because it's so many people playing on Pacific Avenue in Santa Cruz of various sorts, from nasty tweaker, homeless, to really super talented, actually bands with selling CDs that were playing a gig in the jazz club, like that runs the gamut. But after 7 years, After 7 years, I got ignored, and I thought it sounded good. After 10 years, so I heard this really inspirational guy that has the band Snarky Puppy. He said, "Oh, it takes 10 years to get a overnight success, right?" So I've been working on healing with this cat for 10 years, and it seems to have gotten. He seems to have wanting to scrape the wounds worse since I made this. But again, these beings. Let's just face it, man. The origin of this narcissistic personality is the dark beings. They don't like it when you shine the light on them at all. So when I was a young person coming out of this insane world, Sagittarius, triple Sagittarius, and I mean, about the worst thing I would do is make people wait for me for like 20 minutes while I was getting ready or something. But sometimes, when I was running late for a job or running late to try to beat the sun from going down, to go jam music in the sunlight or whatever it was that I had to do. Usually, I mean, the way they work it here, even if you were a homeless person and you had to get a shower, it had to be at 12 o'clock, you'd be running for the shower so that everyone's running at a certain point, right? So what happens when I was running is that these entities would just latch on, and I'd just feel a panic attack, or this, you know, extreme narcissistic impulse to tell people off and to just think about myself and to just like go into my own, me thoughts, my way or the highway. So as long as, again, I mentioned the fixed zodiac signs, as long as the person is conformistic or old fashioned, they may never get rid of it. Alcohol or drugs, alcohol pretty much feeds these demons usually. Like I say, my friend was gonna get me was gonna get a motel with me for 3 days, and he started drinking beer. And he's a Libra rising, a really loving man, but he has these really bad. He's from Santa Clara County. He's from up the hill, and so I was gonna say the reason why how it empowers me is I started my one man band. I've been in Santa Cruz like 4 or 5 years. And, I was accustomed to people having to work all the time and people being self-possessed, egotist, narcissist, trying to live out their dream, or Illuminati narcissist trying to live off abusing others. And I gotten used to seeing it, and how there was always one of their people in every clique, and probably every band almost. And I just don't want to deal with it. I'm not Jerry Garcia. I'm not a politician when it comes to dealing with that. He's from here or nearby. He's from Menlo Park. He can deal with it. Being a Leo, Taurus, double fixed sign from there, he can deal with it. I was not that type. I'm a rebel. I'm a truth teller. Um, so like I say, the rent, how high the rent is, can trigger it. It's just solipsism. Okay, people that are dumb enough to believe in the concept we call solipsism, it'll trigger them to become a narcissist after a while. They don't leave this type of region. The constant divide, divide and conquer with the money. The rent, the constant divide and conquer. So what I've learned is, I became a one-man band, and I learned to work on myself, to work with myself, and to trust myself. And several of these guys I'm telling you about in these videos, it's one of the reasons I'm making the videos is if they would watch it, I want to beam that frequency to them, to everyone, because that's the key. One of the big keys that, and it was, again, facing my brother and my mother after years in South Carolina. This August was part of how I had the courage to start this channel, and also not having these microwave weaponry pointed at me to make me afraid of it, or just, and also some of these stargates and these ancient like spirits like Merlin getting cleared up. I'm gonna say it was Merlin. It was I meant to say King Arthur and Guinevere and a bunch of these others. So back in South Carolina, there's a lot of covert narcissists because people people act like they're real nice, but they're kind of like self-possessed. But they'll be real nice to your face unless you know them real well. Um, but in Santa Cruz, it was like there's such an Illuminati, it's such a dark Lord, Luciferic presence that many were watching what happened to my friend I was talking about in the other video. All those things happened to him. It made me think, wow, it's just got to be really careful and work on myself and trust myself and I got to move out of this town, because I'm not. I don't really belong here, but I actually belong in this little small community I'm building through frying myself with this computer on YouTube. And I'm thankful to all you people for listening. And so, Andrew Bartz has said, if this cheesy old saying, if you point one finger at someone else, then all the other fingers are pointed back at you. Well, I think it's kind of a cheesy, goofy thing for someone who calls themselves a shaman to go into that old line, but he's got a point there, and I don't point the finger at anyone. What I do is I want to bring the clarity of the Most High to all, the light of soul to everything. Um, so yeah, back in South Carolina, they like to be, and here people like can act like people that are totally self-possessed by these beings. These narcissistic entities can just be overt about it. It's really sad, because it's the culture, the inverted culture. On the bottom of this, I wrote, how do you love brilliant people who are narcissistic? You have to let them go. You have to let them go if they're not going to change, but yet, if they're not going to stop being abusive. But let's say you reproduce with them, or say you have a job with them and you love your work. Well, drop a comment. Tell me what you think. But yeah, I'm not controlled by this place. This was just my This one guy told me one time Santa Cruz is a great incubator, and for me, it's definitely appropriate. But again, I want to say to everyone, the narcissistic entity is a parasite in your ego. It's not you. Okay. I have a friend. My friend is he's an Ashkenazi and a Cherokee, and he told me Jews are the most evil people in the world. I know because I am one. And his house burned down in the last chance fire, and his wife took the. He would never do that, but he had on a mask the last time I saw him, like last year, and he told me humans have only two DNA strands. But I've had he could talk himself out of anything. He did a few years for getting caught growing, and he's kind of like a Zen master, but yet he's kind of mentally retarded because you know he's really he's got these his ego or his he's got these things like he's got. I would probably be helping him rebuild his. Honestly, I'm pretty sure I'd be able to hang out with him all the time and help him rebuild his house. But he has these. He has this really bad. He's about 80 years old now too, and he's a brilliant guy. So what do you think? I mean, how do you deal with somebody? And this is why I know so many brilliant people in this town. I almost never see them. 2 or 3 times a year, once every 2 years, once every 2 months, because they're crazy narcissistic geniuses. And I'll be the first to admit that, the more I heal, the more it's like, well, and even just, again, some of these communities, the amount of hours they make you put in, the property tax, again, etc. So you do the math and look at the big picture, right? Because when you look at the big picture in your long term life, you can figure it out sometimes the steps you need to take to heal. Yeah, he said this guy told me potatoes are smarter than us, but he was a really generous and loving friend, and we'd have a lot of deep talks. So Santa Cruz, you run into in Stanford and Berkeley, and you run into these kind of characters. What do you think? It's like you want to love them. It's like my friend David Bliss. Like he said, I paint myself into the corner, but it's because he has these things, and one of them is he's got the doomsday program. He believes that the world's going to end in the next few years, so he might as well do whatever he wants. Okay, so that's a program that these beings brought because, and also Lisa Renee says it's a memory of when it happened before to us, like because these same beings that we're in the war with now have been, they've blown us up and done atmospheric rivers and all this shit so many times before, man. I mean, our egos destroyed Atlantis, right? I mean, we had crystal technology that could do everything, and we just destroyed it with our big egos, our big narcissistic. When these parasites moved in. So, how it empowered me, though, man, is to take a step back, to not identify, to really see, to learn when I'm in a hurry, to learn when I'm being an idiot, to learn when I'm listening to these mother flunking retarded warons. Then I go, well, nah, that's not me, man. I have way more respect for myself and for you, for everyone, than to ever be narcissistic. It's lame. It's an old trick. It's for the losers. Now, I'm not saying I'm fully there. And still, sometimes I ask people to give me money, but one of these days, I'll bring it to all the chakras and practice what I preach. But we're all here in this planet learning, and I really enjoyed learning through being a teacher and the feedback I've been getting, and I'm really thankful for all of you out there who want to heal and are ready to learn from even a guy in a tent. Give me a subscription if you enjoyed this, and have a wonderful evening and day wherever you are.